The restaurant was buzzing with life. Plates clattered, people laughed, and the smell of sizzling food filled the air. Among the chaos, a young black waitress named Maya moved quickly from table to table. Her uniform was neat, her hair tied back, and her smile bright, even though her body was tired from working long hours. Beside her, in a small stroller, sat her baby, Leo, only 9 months old. His tiny hands gripped the edge of the stroller, and his curious eyes watched the customers with wonder. Maya loved her job, but she loved her baby more. She had worked in this restaurant for over 3 years, barely making enough money to pay the bills. Yet she always carried herself with grace and dignity. Today, though, something felt different. There was a tension in the air, a sense of worry that made Maya's heart beat faster. She noticed the manager, Mr. Thompson, standing near the kitchen, his face red with anger. He was frowning and muttering to himself. Maya had seen him upset before, but never like this. Maya moved to a nearby table, carefully balancing a tray with 2 plates of food, and smiled at the customers. "Here you go, sir. And your salad, ma'am. I hope you enjoy it." She spoke softly but confidently, trying to keep the atmosphere friendly and calm. The customers smiled back at her, thanking her for her service. But as she turned to head back to the kitchen, she saw Mr. Thompson coming toward her, his steps heavy and deliberate. His expression was stormy, and Maya felt a cold chill run down her spine. Something was wrong. "Maya, I need to see you in my office." "Now," he said sharply, his voice cutting through the noise of the restaurant. Maya's stomach tightened. She had a feeling she knew what was coming, but she tried to stay calm. She nodded politely and wheeled Leo along with her as she followed him to the small office at the back. The walls were beige and plain, the smell of bleach hanging in the air. Maya gently placed Leo on a chair beside the desk, where he immediately started playing with his tiny toy rattle. "Sit down." "Maya," Mr. Thompson said, his voice low but stern. "I need to talk to you about something serious." Maya nodded again, her hands folded in her lap. She tried to steady her breathing, preparing herself for whatever news was coming. "It's about your job," Mr. Thompson continued, his eyes cold. "I'm afraid we can't keep you here anymore." Maya's heart stopped. "What? Why?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "You're a great worker, Maya, but bringing a baby to work is against company policy. You can't manage both, and it's causing disruptions," he said, not looking at her as he spoke. Maya's hands trembled. "But Leo, I don't have anyone else to take care of him. I need this job," she whispered. Her voice cracked with emotion, but Mr. Thompson's face remained hard and unyielding. "I'm sorry, Maya. The decision is final. You'll need to clear your things by the end of the day," he said, pushing a termination notice across the desk. Maya looked down at the paper, unable to speak for a moment. Her mind raced. How could this happen? She had worked so hard, done everything right, and still, in one moment, it was all gone. Leo started to fuss, sensing his mother's distress. Maya quickly picked him up and held him close, trying to calm him down while fighting back her own tears. As she walked out of the office, clutching Leo in her arms, she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. The restaurant's bustling atmosphere suddenly felt cold and cruel. The customers continued eating, unaware of the drama unfolding just a few steps away. Maya moved toward the exit, her mind spinning with questions. What would she do now? How could she take care of Leo without a job? She felt desperate, exhausted, and hopeless all at once. Outside the restaurant, the world seemed indifferent. Cars rushed past. People walked by, some glancing at her, others too busy with their own lives to notice. Maya took a deep breath, trying to hold back her tears, when a sudden movement caught her eye. Across the street, a sleek black car had stopped. The door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, sharp-dressed, and radiated confidence. His suit was expensive, his hair perfectly styled, and his eyes seemed to notice everything around him. This was Mr. Dalton, a billionaire known for his business empire and bold decisions. He was walking toward the restaurant, but not as a customer. He stopped for a moment, noticing Maya holding Leo, her face pale and sad. Dalton's eyes narrowed slightly as he watched. He saw the manager talking to her, saw the paper in her hands, and saw the tiny baby clinging to his mother. A frown crossed Dalton's face. He had seen injustice before, but this struck him differently. Maya looked exhausted, yet she stood tall despite her circumstances. Dalton's curiosity and concern grew. What happened here? Why is she so upset? He took a few steps closer, trying to hear the conversation, but the glass doors blocked his view. Still, he could see enough. He could see the unfairness, the hardship, the struggle of a mother doing everything she could for her child. Dalton's mind raced. He was used to solving problems, making decisions, and turning situations around, but this was different. This was personal, in a way. He didn't know Maya, he didn't know Leo, yet he felt a strange connection to the moment unfolding before him. He watched as Maya stepped out onto the sidewalk, hugging Leo tightly. She looked around, unsure, scared, and completely vulnerable. Dalton felt something stir inside him, a mix of empathy, curiosity, and a desire to act. For a moment, he paused, considering his next move. Should he walk away? This wasn't his business, after all. But something about the injustice, something about Maya's courage in the face of heartbreak, made him stay. His eyes followed her as she walked slowly down the street, clutching her baby. Dalton adjusted his tie, squared his shoulders, and made a decision. He would not turn away. He would find out her story, and he would act. The suspense hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Everyone passing by could not see the drama unfolding in Dalton's mind, but the audience could feel it. Something big was about to happen, something unexpected. And in that moment, Maya had no idea that a billionaire's attention had fallen on her. She had no idea that her life, her struggles, and her baby Leo were about to change forever. The scene closed on Dalton's determined expression, the city buzzing around him, and the baby cooing softly in Maya's arms. The question lingered in the air. What will he do next? The next morning, Mr. Dalton could not stop thinking about Maya and her baby, Leo. He was in his enormous office, surrounded by glass walls that overlooked the city. Sunlight reflected off the polished floors, but Dalton's mind was elsewhere. He kept replaying the scene from the restaurant. Maya, exhausted, but still smiling at customers. Leo, tiny and helpless in the stroller. And the way the manager had treated her, it bothered him more than anything. Dalton had seen many people in need before, but something about Maya's courage and struggle struck a chord deep inside him. He picked up his phone and made a few calls. Not about business deals or stocks, but about Maya. He asked his assistants to find out everything about the restaurant, the manager, and if there was any way to help her. Dalton had a reputation for acting fast and decisively, and today was no different. He wanted a plan, but it had to be perfect. He did not want to embarrass her or make the situation worse. He wanted to help, but in a way that would truly change her life. Dalton leaned back in his leather chair, staring out the window. He thought about how difficult life must be for Maya, a young mother, trying to balance work and caring for her child, barely making ends meet. And yet, she smiled through it all. He thought about the unfairness she had faced. He had the power to change her world, and he decided he would. But how? He could not just give her money. It had to be something meaningful, something that would give her independence and hope. Meanwhile, Maya was at home with Leo, rocking him gently to sleep. She felt defeated. Losing her job had shaken her to the core. She had no idea how she would pay the rent next month, or buy food, or keep her baby safe. The future looked uncertain, dark, and frightening. As she sat on the small couch, she whispered to Leo, "I promise, baby. I will find a way. We'll be okay." Her words were soft but filled with determination. She didn't know how she would survive, but she refused to give up. Her love for Leo gave her strength, and even in her fear, she felt a tiny spark of hope dot back at his office. Dalton made a decision. He would visit the restaurant again, but this time not as a customer. He would observe, understand, and plan his next move carefully. Dalton wanted to see Maya in action, to see her strength firsthand. He knew that people who worked hard despite difficulties deserved opportunities, and he was determined to give her one. Later that day, Dalton arrived at the restaurant. This time, he did not enter through the front door. Instead, he watched from a distance, leaning against a lamppost across the street. Maya was working again, walking quickly between tables, trying to help as many customers as possible. She had not yet found another job, so she was still at this restaurant, doing what she could to survive. Leo sat in the stroller, babbling and waving his tiny hands. Dalton watched quietly, studying her every move. He noticed how patient she was with the customers, how careful she was to avoid spilling anything, and how she tried to calm Leo when he fussed. Something inside Dalton stirred. He had seen many capable people in his life, but Maya's courage and determination were different. It was not just her hard work. There was a fire in her heart, a refusal to give up no matter how difficult life became. Dalton made a silent promise to himself. "I will help her. I will make sure her struggles do not go unnoticed. And I will do it in a way that changes her life forever." Dalton started writing notes in his small notebook, ideas flowing rapidly. He thought of a new restaurant he had been planning to open, one where people like Maya could thrive. He imagined her managing the place, giving her the independence she deserved. He thought about the joy on her face, the relief of knowing her baby would be safe, and the pride of standing tall despite every obstacle. Dalton's mind worked fast, and for the first time that morning, he smiled. He knew what he had to do. The suspense built as Dalton planned his next move. Would he approach Maya immediately or wait for the right moment? Could he convince her to trust him? The audience felt the tension too, knowing that the next encounter between Dalton and Maya would be life-changing. Dalton did not rush. He wanted the perfect moment, a way to help her that was respectful and meaningful. He wanted to make sure that when he acted, it would be unforgettable. As the day ended, Dalton returned to his office, still thinking about Maya. He reviewed his notes, his plans, and the possibilities. He could feel the excitement building, but also the weight of responsibility. Helping someone in need was not always easy, but Dalton was determined. Somewhere across the city, Maya was putting Leo to bed, unaware that her life was about to change in ways she could never imagine. Dalton smiled quietly to himself, knowing that soon he would make his move. And when he did, the audience could not help but wonder, what exactly will Dalton do to help Maya? How will her life change forever? The stage was set. The pieces were in place. The suspense was high, and the story of a struggling mother and a powerful billionaire was only just beginning. The next morning, Maya returned to the restaurant. She was still worried, still unsure of her future, but she put on her uniform and her brave face. Leo sat quietly in his stroller, sucking his little fingers, unaware of the tension his mother felt. Maya worked with her usual grace, balancing plates and trays, greeting customers with a soft smile, all while keeping an eye on her baby. She wanted to do her best, even when the world seemed unfair. The restaurant was busy, louder than usual, with customers chatting and waiters rushing from table to table. Maya felt tired, but she kept going. She had no other choice. Outside, Dalton watched from across the street again. This time, He did not plan to just observe. He had made a decision. He was going to enter the restaurant, to meet Maya, to understand her struggle up close. Dalton adjusted his tie, took a deep breath, and stepped through the front door. Immediately, the warmth and smell of the restaurant hit him. He could hear the chatter of customers, the clatter of dishes, and the laughter of people enjoying their meals. But among all that noise, Dalton's eyes found Maya. She was moving quickly between tables, balancing trays with food, yet she looked calm and composed. And beside her, Leo sat in the stroller, looking around with wide eyes. Dalton approached her slowly, careful not to startle her. "Excuse me," he said, his voice polite but firm. Maya looked up, slightly startled. She had never seen him before, but there was something about him, a presence that made her stop for a moment. Dalton smiled gently. "I'm here to talk to you," he said. Maya blinked, unsure. "Me?" she asked softly, her voice low. Dalton nodded. "Yes, you. May I sit for a moment?" He gestured to a small corner table. Maya hesitated but then nodded, pushing Leo's stroller beside the chair dot as Dalton sat. He watched Maya closely. He noticed how her hands shook slightly, how tired she looked, and how deeply she cared for her baby. She tried to straighten her back, to appear confident, but he could see the worry in her eyes. "I wanted to meet you because I saw what happened yesterday," Dalton began, his voice calm but serious. Maya felt her heart skip a beat. What do you mean?" she asked. Dalton explained that he had noticed her being treated unfairly, how she had been fired despite working so hard, and how brave she was to keep going despite the difficulties she faced. Maya felt a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked quietly. Dalton leaned forward slightly. "Because I want to help you, but I need to understand your story first. I want to see your strength, your courage, and the love you have for your child. I believe you deserve an opportunity, but I need you to trust me." Maya looked at him carefully. She was cautious. After all, who meets a complete stranger in a restaurant and offers help? But there was something genuine in Dalton's eyes, something that made her feel a little hope, a little light in the darkness she had been living in. Leo cooed softly in his stroller, as if sensing that something important was happening. Maya took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay," she said softly. "I will tell you." Dalton smiled. He listened carefully as Maya explained her life. How she had struggled to balance work and taking care of Leo. How she had lost her job through no fault of her own. How she had hoped for a chance to provide a better life for her baby. Dalton asked questions gently, never interrupting, letting her speak freely. The more Maya talked, the more Dalton understood her determination and her bravery. After a while, Dalton leaned back in his chair. "You are stronger than most people I know," he said. Maya looked at him, surprised. "Strong?" she asked. I just try to survive," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Dalton shook his head. "No, what you are doing is not just surviving. It is courage. It is love. And I believe you have potential to do something extraordinary." The restaurant around them faded from Maya's attention. She focused on Dalton's words, feeling a strange mix of hope and disbelief. Could someone like him really care about someone like her? Could her life really change in such a sudden and unexpected way? Dalton smiled softly, sensing her thoughts. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small card. "Here," he said, placing it on the table. "This is my contact information. Call me when you are ready. I have an idea. A chance for you and your baby to start a new chapter in life." Maya picked up the card, staring at it in shock. Her mind was racing. This was unbelievable. A billionaire, a complete stranger, offering to help her? She had dreamed of opportunities before, but never like this. Her hand shook slightly as she held the card. Dalton stood up, smiled at her, and said, "I will leave you to think about it. But remember, the right moment is coming. Be ready." Then he turned and walked out, leaving Maya sitting there, heart pounding, holding the tiny card and gazing at Leo. The suspense hung in the air. Maya did not know what would happen next, but she felt a strange excitement mixed with fear. Could this really be real? Could someone like Dalton actually help her? She looked at Leo, his small hand resting on hers, and whispered, "Mommy will figure this out. I promise." Dalton watched from the street, observing her carefully, a quiet smile on his face. He knew that her life was about to change, but how it would happen, that was still a secret. The audience was left wondering, what will Dalton do next? How will Maya respond to this unexpected chance? Will she trust him? The suspense had grown, and the story was only beginning. A few days later, Maya received a call. The voice on the other end was calm, polite, but full of authority. "Maya, this is Mr. Dalton. I hope I'm not disturbing you." Maya's heart skipped a beat. She hesitated, glancing at baby Leo, who was playing on the floor. No, it's okay," she replied softly. Dalton spoke again. "I'd like to invite you to my office. I have something important to discuss with you. Can you come?" Maya felt a mix of fear and hope. Could this really be real? She nodded even though he could not see her. "Yes, I'll come." The next morning, Maya dressed carefully. She wanted to make a good impression, but she also felt nervous. She held Leo's hand as they entered the building, feeling small and unsure in the massive lobby. The elevators were shiny and tall, the kind she had only ever seen in movies. Dalton was waiting for her in a large, modern office at the top floor. The view of the city from the windows was breathtaking, but Maya could barely notice it. Her attention was on Dalton, a man who seemed so powerful yet kind, and somehow had noticed her struggles. "Welcome, Maya," Dalton said, standing and smiling warmly. "Please, sit down." "And this is Leo," he said, noticing her baby crawling around the office. Leo looked around curiously, fascinated by the tall windows and shiny floor. Maya felt a mix of pride and worry, hoping Dalton would not mind the baby. Dalton crouched slightly, smiling at Leo. "Hello, Leo. Nice to meet you. Your mommy tells me a lot about you," he said kindly. Maya's heart softened. Dalton's warmth was different from anyone she had ever met. Dalton gestured for Maya to sit. "Maya, I watched you at the restaurant, and I've been thinking a lot about your situation. I know how hard you work, how much you love your baby, and how unfairly life has treated you. I want to help you, but I don't want to just give you money. I want to offer you something meaningful, something that will change your life forever." Maya's eyes widened. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. What do you mean?" she asked quietly. Dalton smiled. "I have been planning to open a new restaurant," he explained. "One where people like you, hard-working parents, can thrive. I want you to manage it. You would be responsible for the daily operations, but I will support you and help you learn everything you need. This is your chance to not just survive, but to succeed." Maya's mind raced. She could feel hope, but also fear. Could she really manage such a big responsibility? Could she trust Dalton? Seeing her hesitation, Dalton leaned forward gently. "I know it sounds overwhelming, Maya, but I believe in you. I have seen your courage, your dedication, and your love for Leo. Those are qualities that no one can teach. I want to give you the opportunity to show the world what you are capable of." Maya's hands trembled slightly as she held Leo, feeling the weight of the decision. It was more than just a job. It was a chance for a new life. But it also meant stepping into the unknown. Dalton reached into his desk and pulled out a small notebook. flipping through pages filled with plans and ideas for the new restaurant. "This is everything we need," he said. "But it won't work without you, Maya. I need someone with heart, determination, and courage. I think that person is you." Maya looked down at Leo, who reached up and grabbed her finger. She smiled, feeling a sudden rush of strength. I will try," she whispered. "I want to do this. For Leo. And for me." Dalton's face lit up with a proud smile. He stood and offered his hand to Maya. "Then welcome to a new beginning," he said. Maya shook his hand, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. She could hardly believe it. Just days ago, she had been fired and felt hopeless. Now, a billionaire was giving her an opportunity to manage a restaurant, to provide a future for herself and her baby. It was almost too good to be true. As Maya left Dalton's office, clutching the small notebook with notes and plans, she felt a wave of emotions: relief, hope, and determination. She knew the road ahead would not be easy, but she also knew that she had someone who believed in her, someone willing to help her succeed. The suspense remained, though, because the next steps would be full of challenges. Could she handle the pressure? Could she prove herself capable of managing a restaurant while caring for Leo? The audience could feel the tension and excitement. Dalton had revealed his plan, but the real test was just beginning. Maya had been given a chance, but life would not make it simple. Challenges, doubts, and obstacles were waiting for her. And yet, the spark of hope in her heart had been lit, stronger than ever before. As the scene ended, Dalton watched Maya leave, his eyes thoughtful. He knew this was only the beginning. Maya had courage, but the journey ahead would test her in ways she could not imagine. The suspense lingered. Would Maya rise to the challenge? Could she transform her life and her baby's life with this unexpected opportunity? The audience was left eager to find out what would happen next as the story of Maya, Leo, and the billionaire Dalton moved toward the next chapter of unexpected challenges and life-changing decisions. The opening day of the new restaurant arrived, and Maya could hardly believe it. What had seemed like a dream a few days ago was now real. The place was beautifully decorated, tables neatly arranged, lights glowing warmly, and the smell of freshly cooked food filling the air. Maya held baby Leo close as she walked through the doors, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Her hands trembled slightly, and her heart raced. Could she really do this? Could she manage a restaurant while taking care of her baby? Dalton was there, standing quietly near the entrance, observing. His sharp eyes missed nothing. Maya knew he was watching, and the pressure made her nervous. But she also felt a surge of determination. She wanted to prove herself, not just to Dalton, but to herself. She wanted to show that despite everything, she was capable of handling this responsibility. She took a deep breath and straightened her back. Today, she would face her first real challenge. The first customers arrived, and Maya moved quickly to greet them. She smiled, took orders, and coordinated with the kitchen. Leo sat in his stroller, babbling softly, but Maya's attention never wavered. She balanced trays, managed tables, and tried to stay calm under the constant rush. Everything seemed to be going well until the first problem appeared. A rude customer complained loudly that his food was cold. Maya apologized politely and rushed to the kitchen to fix it. Her heart pounded, but she stayed composed. She could not afford to panic. As the day continued, challenges kept coming. The head chef had a sudden disagreement with a waiter, delaying several orders. A delivery of ingredients was late, making it difficult to keep the menu on track. Maya ran from table to table, resolving issues, calming upset customers, and managing her staff. Each moment was more stressful than the last, but she refused to give up. She thought about Leo, about the reason she was doing this, and found strength she didn't know she had. Dalton watched silently from his spot, his expression serious but approving. He saw Maya's determination her courage, and her ability to handle pressure. But he also saw her struggle. He noticed the exhaustion in her movements and the worry in her eyes. Despite the challenges, Dalton knew Maya had the potential to succeed. He also knew the audience. Anyone watching this story would be on edge, wondering if Maya could overcome these obstacles. That then came the biggest test of the day, a surprise health inspection. An inspector walked into the restaurant, clipboard in hand, asking questions and checking every corner of the kitchen. Maya's stomach sank. She had prepared everything carefully, but the unexpected inspection made her nervous. She introduced herself politely, explained the processes, and guided the inspector through the kitchen. Leo crawled nearby, curious but quiet, as Maya stayed focused on her task. The inspector nodded slowly, writing notes, while Maya's heart pounded in her chest. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the inspector looked up and smiled. "Everything seems in order," he said. Maya exhaled a deep breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Relief washed over her, but there was no time to relax. The restaurant was still busy, orders were still coming in, and she had to keep everything running smoothly. Dalton gave her a small nod of encouragement. Maya felt a spark of pride. She had managed the day so far, and she was learning, growing stronger with every challenge. As the evening approached, Maya felt tired but accomplished. She had handled rude customers, staff disagreements, delayed orders, and even a health inspection. Through it all, she never lost her patience or her love for her baby. Leo cooed happily, sensing his mother's strength and confidence. Dalton approached her quietly. "You did well today," he said. Maya looked at him, surprised and relieved. "Really?" she asked. Dalton smiled. "Yes, you handled more in one day than most people can handle in a week. I'm proud of you." Maya felt a rush of emotion. Tears welled up in her eyes as she held Leo close. For the first time in weeks, she felt hope, pride, and excitement all at once. She realized that despite the challenges, she was capable of much more than she had imagined. The audience could feel the suspense and the victory at the same time. Would Maya succeed? And now, seeing her courage and determination, it was clear that she could. But Dalton knew the journey was far from over. Today had been just the beginning. More challenges, bigger responsibilities, and unexpected obstacles were coming. Maya had proven herself, but the true test of her strength, resilience, and courage was still ahead. The suspense remained high, leaving the audience eager to see what would happen next. As Maya looked around the restaurant, watching happy customers and seeing her staff working under her guidance, she felt a new sense of purpose. She had faced the challenge, survived it, and grown stronger. Dalton watched quietly from his spot, proud and thoughtful. He knew Maya's journey had only just begun, and the next chapter would test her in ways she could not yet imagine. The story left the audience asking, could Maya continue to rise above every challenge? Would she truly transform her life and the life of her baby? Days passed, and Maya was settling into her new role as the manager of the restaurant. She was still learning, still adjusting to the responsibilities, but she felt stronger with each passing day. Every challenge she had faced before had prepared her for this moment. Yet, nothing could have prepared her for the test that awaited her on this particular morning. The restaurant was busier than ever. A large crowd had gathered for a special promotion, and the staff was stretched thin. Maya's heart raced as she glanced around, checking orders, directing waiters, and making sure every table was served. Leo sat quietly in his stroller, observing the activity with wide eyes, occasionally letting out small coos that made Maya smile despite her stress. Everything seemed under control until the first problem struck. A group of customers began complaining loudly. Their food had taken too long, and they were clearly frustrated. Maya rushed to their table, apologizing and trying to calm them. Her hand shook slightly as she balanced plates and listened to their complaints. Just when she thought she had managed to smooth things over, the chef suddenly slammed a pot lid in frustration, knocking over a tray of fresh dishes. The noise made several customers jump, and Maya's stomach sank. She had to act quickly. At the same time, a surprise inspection was announced. Health inspectors entered the restaurant, checking every corner of the kitchen, the storage areas, and the dining room. Maya felt her heart pound. She had been careful, but the unexpected stress tested her like never before. She greeted the inspectors politely, answered questions confidently, and guided them through the restaurant. Each moment felt like a high-wire act, and the audience could feel the suspense rising with every second. Meanwhile, Dalton watched quietly from a corner table. His eyes followed every move Maya made. He could see the exhaustion in her posture, the tension in her movements, and the determination in her eyes. She was handling multiple crises at once, yet she remained calm and focused. Dalton's admiration grew. He knew this was the moment that would reveal Maya's true strength. Just as Maya thought she had survived the worst, another problem emerged. A delivery of fresh ingredients arrived late, throwing off the timing for several dishes. The staff began to panic, and some customers grew impatient. Maya took a deep breath and gathered everyone for a quick meeting. "We can do this," she said firmly. "Focus on one table at a time. I'll help where I can. Let's stay calm and finish the day strong." Her confidence inspired the staff, and slowly, the chaos began to settle. Hours passed, and the restaurant finally quieted down. Maya wiped sweat from her forehead and looked around. The customers were happy, the staff was tired but satisfied, and Leo was sleeping peacefully in his stroller. Dalton approached her, smiling warmly. "You did it," he said. Maya looked at him, barely able to believe it. I managed?" she asked, her voice trembling with relief. Dalton nodded. "You didn't just manage, Maya. You excelled. You stayed calm under pressure, solved problems, and led your team with courage. Today proved something very important. You are capable of much more than you realize." Maya felt a wave of pride and relief. She held Leo close and whispered, "We did it, baby. Mommy did it." She realized that her struggles, her doubts, and her fears had all led to this moment. The challenges had tested her, but she had faced them head-on and emerged stronger. Dalton watched her quietly, knowing that today was the turning point. Maya had not only survived, but had proven herself capable of handling greater responsibilities. Yet, Dalton also knew the story was far from over. Today had been a success, but the future held new challenges, bigger responsibilities, and moments that would test Maya in ways she could not yet imagine. The audience felt the suspense rise even higher. What obstacles would Maya face next? Could she maintain her courage and strength in the face of unforeseen problems? Dalton had faith in her, but the real test of her resilience was still ahead. As the scene closed, Maya stood in the restaurant, watching her staff clean up and seeing satisfied customers leave. She felt exhausted, but also proud. She had overcome tremendous challenges, yet she knew she had more to learn. Dalton walked past her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "This is just the beginning, Maya. Your journey has only just started," he said softly. Maya smiled, a mixture of determination and hope in her eyes. The turning point had arrived, and with it came the promise of a brighter, stronger future. The suspense lingered in the air, leaving the audience eager for the next chapter. Would Maya continue to rise above every challenge? Could she transform her life and her baby's life forever? And what surprises awaited her along the way? The answers would come, but only in the next part of the story. Weeks passed, and Maya's restaurant began to thrive. The staff had grown accustomed to her guidance, and the customers loved the warm, welcoming atmosphere she had created. Maya had learned to handle every challenge with patience and confidence. She still faced obstacles, but now she had experience, determination, and the knowledge that she could overcome almost anything. Each day, she looked at baby Leo and felt inspired. He was her reason to keep going, her motivation to be stronger and braver than she ever thought possible. Dalton visited the restaurant occasionally, always observing quietly. He noticed the improvements, the way Maya encouraged her staff, and the smiles on the faces of customers who had become regulars. Dalton's respect for her had grown even more. He could see that Maya had transformed from a young, struggling mother into a confident, capable leader. Today, he decided it was time for something bigger. "Good morning, Maya," Dalton said one day, stepping into the restaurant with his usual calm confidence. Maya greeted him warmly, slightly nervous because she never knew what he might say next. Dalton smiled and gestured for her to sit. "Maya, I have something to show you," he said. He handed her a newspaper. On the front page, there was a headline, "From fired waitress to successful restaurant owner, a billionaire's unexpected help." Maya's eyes widened as she read the article. It described her journey, the struggles she had faced, and the incredible opportunity Dalton had given her. The story had inspired people all over the city. Tears filled Maya's eyes as she looked at Leo, who was sitting on a nearby chair, clapping his tiny hands. She felt a mix of pride, relief, and gratitude. Dalton watched quietly, a small smile on his face. He had changed her life, but it was Maya's courage and determination that had made everything possible. He leaned forward and said softly, "You did this, Maya. I only gave you the chance. You made it happen." Maya hugged Leo tightly and whispered, "We did it, baby. Mommy never gave up, and now we have a future." The audience could feel the emotion, the joy, and the triumph. After everything she had faced, losing her job, struggling to survive, and facing countless challenges, Maya had not only succeeded, but had become an inspiration for others. Dalton stood quietly, watching the scene unfold. He knew Maya's journey was not over. Life would always have challenges. But he also knew that she had the courage, strength, and wisdom to face whatever came next. The restaurant had become more than a place to work. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and love. Maya had turned her hardships into a success story, and in doing so, she had changed her life and her baby's life forever. As the day ended, Maya walked to the window, holding Leo in her arms. She watched the city lights twinkle outside, feeling a deep sense of peace. Dalton approached quietly and placed a hand on her shoulder. "This is just the beginning, Maya," he said. "There are more opportunities, more challenges, and more success waiting for you. But remember this moment. Remember how far you've come." Maya smiled, tears rolling down her cheeks. She felt proud, happy, and ready for the future. Leo yawned in her arms, and she whispered, "Mommy will always protect you, baby. We will keep going, no matter what." The restaurant buzzed softly around them, filled with happy customers and hard-working staff. All part of the world Maya had built through courage, love, and determination. The story closed with Dalton walking out of the restaurant, a satisfied smile on his face, and Maya looking at her baby, knowing that together they could face anything. The audience was left with a warm feeling of hope, inspiration, and the reminder that even in the darkest moments, kindness, courage, and determination can change lives forever. And in that moment, everyone watching knew the truth. Sometimes, a small act of attention, a chance given at the right time, and the courage to take it can transform a life in ways no one could ever imagine.